The Pittsburgh Steelers are still open to, well, any move that comes their way. So the big question is, what moves are they? When will they make them? And how realistic is it that they still make another splash this offseason? What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, we're talking about the words of Omar Khan and how much significance they hold as the Steelers begin football once again and look to finish building this roster before the 2023 season. Khan told Pro Football Talk that he is still open and that the Steelers will continue to evaluate potential additions to the Steelers roster, and that if somebody comes their way or if a team need becomes available to them this summer, they're going to add someone. So the question is, what are they still looking at? When will they add that player or players? And how serious will the Steelers take anybody who hits the market from here forward? I think that's where you start, is acknowledging that the Steelers likely aren't going to dive into what's left of the free agency pool. Maybe one or two guys, smaller name dudes. I saw that Pro Football Focus named Kyle Van Noy a potential landing spot for the Steelers as an outside linebacker, a fourth edge rusher behind Nick Herbig. Makes sense, but at the same time, Kyle Van Noy is likely looking to play a bigger role than a fourth outside linebacker somewhere. He's coming off of 13 starts, 17 games played, and 5 sacks. He's a guy that still, even at 32 years old, has some juice left in the tank. He's going to get almost no reps in Pittsburgh. So I find that one a little bit hard to believe. But there are others. And I think that's, again, what you have to acknowledge first, is that the Steelers aren't going to do it now. They're going to wait. They're going to see who becomes available as roster cuts are made, as trades are made, as these training camp / mini camp OTA addition and subtractions are made by other teams to clear cap space, find perfect fits, replace guys that they hoped worked out but didn't as they build their roster. The construction of other teams is going to benefit the Steelers as it does every year, and Omar Khan is looking to take advantage of that. That's all this is. What positions will they target is the second question. You look at two big ones, outside linebacker and slot corner. You could talk about the edge rusher all you want, and I think that Nick Herbig is going to do just fine. I think the Steelers have high hopes for this guy. There's a lot of questions about his size, but undersized guys make it all the time. And until proven otherwise, I'm not going to look at Nick Herbig as this outlier that never has a chance in Pittsburgh. I'm going to look at him and say the Steelers see something in this guy. He's a 4th round draft pick, so the expectations aren't huge. And behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, all the Steelers are really looking for is somebody to come in here and play 20 to 25 snaps a game. It's not super crazy. Go ball out on teams, show that you could play defense, be a reliable player off the bench, and hope and pray that the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have to fill a gap in TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith this season. That should be the outlook every year. It should never be a, well, if TJ goes down, or, oh, when Alex misses these amount of games. No, the Steelers are going to look at it like everybody's healthy, and that's how we win Super Bowls. Nick Herbig is here to play 20 to 25 snaps a game. And while I don't believe that Quincy Roche is necessarily the best option as an outside linebacker 4, I don't think that he's the worst option either. I think the Steelers could evaluate this guy and say, hey, look, we feel comfortable enough for him to play special teams and almost never touch the football field on defense. That's really what that 4th outside linebacker spot's going to do. As for inside linebacker, because that's the question everybody brings up when it comes to Nick Herbig, and when you talk about depth at the outside linebacker, well, that means that Herbig isn't going to play much off-ball linebacker, and that's another hole that the Steelers have. Yes and no. They want Mark Robinson to be that guy. They've wanted him to be that guy this entire time. They think he's a thumper with a bunch of potential, a real physical guy who they could make, I don't want to say a cornerstone, but a developmental piece to their defense who could play a long-term role. That's how they look at Mark Robinson. At the same time, they understand that this dude is a second-year, 7th-round player. The expectations have to be small and low, but they're going to give him a shot. That's how they have the outlook of inside linebacker with Nick Herbig playing a little bit of both if need be on the off ball, but most of the time on the outside. You go out and sign somebody else, you make one more splash and bring in another veteran outside linebacker. Cool. It only bulks what you need and gives yourself a little bit more security. But at the same time, until Nick Herbig touches a football field and you say, there's no way this guy's going to make it around the edge in the NFL, you let it as is. You let Quincy Roche show you what you have. And if some magnificent name hits the free agency market in June or July, you go after him. But before that, I don't think the Steelers look at this scenario and say, we have a pressing need at either one of these positions. On the other side of that, when it comes to the slot corner, I think the Steelers do have a pressing need. And I think that they do have some sight. I think that they believe in some degree that they need to fill that nickelback position, and they can't really rely on Arthur Millette to be the only option. And they've done themselves some favors in the NFL draft and during free agency. Patrick Peterson, I expect to move in at least a little bit, sometimes play the slot, cover big tight ends. That's the physical traits that this guy has always had. He's been just an absolute alien on the outside, but now he can move to the inside. He's later in his career. Eventually, guys his age move back to safety, but instead, maybe he bounces inside just from time to time. He's not a full-time option on the inside. On top of that, you added Corey Trice in the 7th round. Yes, that's a good name. It's a fun guy to watch. I think that the Steelers believe he could develop into something, but I think that's all it is they believe he could develop into something. He's not necessarily a replacement for the 2023 season. And they like Arthur Millette. They have nothing against Arthur Millette. But at the end of last season, you saw that they started to take him off the field during coverage downs because they saw that he lacked the capability to be consistent against some of these guys. You know, the Cincinnati Bengals in their second matchup moved T. Higgins on the inside, and it was unfair to watch Arthur Millette even try to cover this guy. The Steelers understand that they have to make a move there. I think that's their top priority. And you look at the free agency market and who's still out there, and I think really the only name that makes any sense for this team to really just fill that position is Bryce Callahan, but he's an older guy. You're going to bring him in for maybe a season. It makes some sense, and I don't think he's a bad option for any team, especially a team that needs a slot corner, and that's what he specifies in. But I think that you wait it out, just like every other position. I think that Khan understands that right now teams are going to make really harsh decisions and that some draft picks aren't going to make it. And I get that this year is different because instead of those 3 levels of cuts, it's just one cut. And teams are going to have to wait all the way until the end. And they're going to have to watch these guys in preseason and hope that somebody doesn't get hurt to bring them on and then say, hey, look, this is our only option. You don't have time to develop with this team anymore. We saw your tape. You have to come to Pittsburgh and step in as a role player immediately. It's not ideal for the Steelers. I still think that maybe a trade is on the table when it comes to a cornerback at some point this offseason. The summer could reveal many options and teams are going to come out. And once those, not initial depth charts, but those first training camp reps are taking and teams or rookies are overstepping veterans and all this noise is made and the headlines are out, teams are going to start making calls. And Omar Khan, the aggressive Omar Khan, the con artist, is a guy that's definitely going to be on the phones. I think that he'll be highlighting these positions. And I think cornerback and that slot corner is going to be key to all of this. And yeah, I like Shandon Sullivan out of Minnesota. I think maybe he's an option. Madri Harper, I think maybe he's an option. Again, Corey Trice, I think he's an option. But I don't think any of these guys are solidified. This is the guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to try him out. They're going to test all the waters. It's going to be a waiting game before that next move. But Omar Khan is not lying when he says that more moves are on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to keep evaluating things. They're going to keep making phone calls. They're going to keep watching the market. And again, as these reporters get into camp and as these headlines make way and guys start talking and teams start evaluating and film comes out on different places, people are going to be on the block. People are going to be available to at least talk and negotiate a possible trade. People are going to be on the cut list. People are going to be replaced for younger guys or different free agents. There is plenty of moves left in the NFL. The Steelers are just waiting as a shark in the water to see what one is best for them. And everybody's going to talk about outside linebacker. Everybody's going to talk about inside linebacker. Everybody's going to talk about wide receiver in this position and that position. Slot corner. Watch it, because I think that's the Steelers' top priority right now. It's their only pressing need. And I think as the summer rolls on and guys start coming and people become somewhat available, Omar Khan's going to try to make a move.